Hello and welcome back to another video. This is the 4th episode of the story, in which Naruto is adopted by Uchiha clan. Hit like and subscribe buttons. Let's get this show on the road, shall we? Time had come. It was time for the final phase of the Chunin exams, the tournament. In addition to the villagers of Konohagakure, the Chunin exam stadium was filled with dignitaries from all across the 5 shinobi nations, all eager to see the skills of the Jonin that had made it this far in the Konoha Chunin exams. As the spectators watched, the exam proctor, Gekko Hayate, walked to the center of the arena and faced the first 2 contestants, Naruto, and a kunoichi with blonde hair, pale skin, and a somewhat gifted figure. The first round of the Chunin exam tournament begins now, said Hayate. The first match, Uchiha Naruto vs Samui of Kumo. Both fighters ready? Hell yeah, said Naruto, I'm gonna win Dadabayo. If you think that you'll win, then I'll have to teach you a cool lesson in reality, said Samui as she placed her hand on her tanto. One as uncool as you isn't ready to be a shinobi. I'll make you eat those words, smirked Naruto. Begin, yelled Hayate before leaping back. As soon as the proctor called out for the match to start, Samui shot forward with her tanto, aiming to end the match in an instant by cutting down her opponent. The kunoichi from Kumagakure was certainly fast, and had Naruto not trained his reaction time with Jiraiya, he wouldn't have been able to react until the blade made contact and tore through his skin. However, he had trained in that area and was able to pull off a quick kawarimi with a log from the forest on the edge of the arena, allowing him to escape while the log was sliced cleanly in 2 by the kunoichi's blade. Naruto knew that this fight was going to be difficult just by seeing how fast the girl was, so he quickly made a hand seal and created a dozen cage bunshine. The bunshine scattered and quickly began to throw shuriken at the blonde kumonin. To her credit, Samui didn't flinch and quickly cut through the weapons with quick swings of her Raton-infused sword. Sheathing her blade, she made several quick hand seals, channeling her chakra and converting it to the Raton element. Raton, Thunderbolt, yelled Samui as she blasted a barrage of lightning from her hands that tore through Naruto's bunshine, leaving an empty arena filled with smoke. Where is he? Muttered Samui as she looked around for where the blonde had escaped to. Suddenly, the log Naruto had used to escape her first attack exploded in a poof of smoke and transformed into the blonde shinobi. Capitalizing on the kumonin's surprise, Naruto quickly threw 3 shuriken infused with futon chakra at her. Samui automatically reacted by dodging the first 2 and moving to deflect the third with her tanto, neither realizing that the blade was infused with chakra, nor infusing her own with any either. Because of this slip-up, Naruto's shuriken easily cleaved through the blade of Samui's sword, and it was only due to her sharp reflexes that she avoided the spinning weapon with only a slash across her cheek and several locks of her hair cut. Samui frowned as she felt blood drip down her cheek and tossed her now useless blade to the side before making more hand seals and slamming her palms into the ground, releasing a surge of electric current that tore through the earth and stone as it streaked toward the adopted Uchiha. Scene XX humph, the brat's got skill, I'll admit, muttered the Yondaime Reikage as he watched the match from his spot next to Hiruzen Sarutobi and the Yondaime Kazekage. Indeed, said the Kazekage, using the cage bunshine as a cover to henge into the log he previously used as a kawarimi, an interesting strategy. Do you think he has a chance to beat your Jonin, Reikage-sama? DCH, doubtful, scoffed the Reikage, the brat may have a few tricks, but it's nothing Samui can't handle, even if her sword is broken, she shouldn't have too much trouble defeating him. I see, said the Kazekage. I would like to know where the brat learned the Taju Cage Bunshine no Jutsu, said Or are you now teaching your kinjutsu to Jonin, Hokage-sama? Hiruzen simply chuckled at that as he watched the match. Originally, Naruto-kun was to learn the normal Cage Bunshine no Jutsu, but he overloaded it with chakra and inadvertently used the Taju Cage Bunshine no Jutsu instead. Most interesting, said the Kazekage, a Jonin that possesses enough chakra to use a kinjutsu like that without fear of chakra exhaustion? Speaking of the brat, said the Reikage, how is it he's an Uchiha? Don't they all have distinctive black hair and eyes? He was adopted by the clan, said Hiruzen, but we are not here to discuss the background of my shinobi. Let us continue to watch the match. Scene XX Naruto grunted out in pain as he was thrown backwards by a blast of lightning from a Raton jutsu that his opponent had hit him with. His clothes were a bit cinched and if it weren't for the Kyuubi giving him an unnaturally fast healing factor, he would be covered with burns and bruises. You're gonna need to do better than this, Gaki, growled the Kyuubi from his seal. I know. Naruto ground out, let me think. Naruto quickly created a cage bunshine and both of them quickly rushed through several hand seals as they faced the blonde kunoichi. Kaden, Gokakyu no Jutsu, yelled the clone before breathing out a gout of fire. Futon, Datappa, yelled the original, blasting forward a powerful gale. The flames mixed with the wind and intensified into a raging inferno that rushed at the Kumoku no Ichi. Samui's eyes widened at this and she quickly made several hand seals as she channeled Raten chakra around her body in vast amounts. Raten, Bakurai, she yelled as she released the chakra as a powerful blast of electricity that collided with the incoming inferno and exploded violently, sending her flying back as Naruto's cage bunshine dispelled. The Kunoichi quickly pulled herself to her feet and drew two kunai, which she immediately coated with Raten chakra, and got into a fighting stance as several cage bunshine burst through the cloud of dust kicked up by the explosion. Samui moved with skill and grace despite the minor injuries she received when she countered the Jinchuriki's combination jutsu, cutting through the bunshine with ease and slamming a kick into the chest of one that just so happened to be the original, sending Naruto tumbling back. Naruto rolled to his feet and made several bunshine behind the cover of a smoke bomb. The bunshine threw several shuriken at the blonde Kunoichi which were dodged with ease, but suddenly, as one passed by her, it exploded in a poof of smoke and transformed into the original with a kunai ready in his hand. Twisting in the air, Naruto buried the blade of his kunai into the Kunoichi's side, but was caught off guard when the girl transformed into electricity that flowed into his body and sent him skidding across the ground, the electricity stunning him temporarily. Scene XX a Raten cage bunshine, mused Kurenai Yuhi as she sat in the stands of the arena with her students. Raten cage bunshine? Asked Sakura from her seat next to the Jonin Genjutsu mistress. I've read of the normal cage bunshine, but Raten? It's similar to the technique created by the Nidaime Hokage, but it uses Raten chakra to create the bunshine, explained Kurenai. Because of this, the cage bunshine transforms back into lightning upon being destroyed, allowing it to shock and stun the one who dispelled it. Who knew Naruto was this skilled, said Kiba. Too bad we didn't make it. I would have loved to fight him. Kurenai-sensei, said Shino, Uzumaki-san is creating far more bunshine than what the standard cage bunshine no jutsu should allow for. Kurenai's nodded. Kakashi told me about that in passing. Apparently that's a side effect of Naruto's enormous chakra reserves overpowering the jutsu. Now I want you to realize that the jutsu is normally extremely dangerous for Jonin to learn without special circumstances, so don't go trying to copy his feat. The three Jonin of Team 8 nodded and continued to watch the match as it progressed. Scene XX damn it. Naruto grunted as he took a Raten jutsu to the chest due to his reaction time being hindered by the electricity from the Raten cage bunshine. A little help Kyuubi? Working on it, muttered the Kyuubi as he channeled enough of his chakra around Naruto to burn off the Raten chakra, but not enough to tip his hand as a Jinchuriki. Remember to keep your guard up, Gaki. Naruto quickly leapt to his feet and thought up a quick strategy as he dodged another Raten jutsu from Samui. Creating a cage bunshine, the two of them quickly went through several hand seals just as Samui made hand seals of her own. Raten, Thunderbolt, yelled Samui as she blasted a large amount of lightning at Naruto. Suten, Mizurappa, yelled Naruto's bunshine before spitting out a torrent of water. Futon, Datappa, yelled the original before he shot a blast of wind at Samui. The water and wind merged into a twisting vortex and, when it came into contact with Samui's Raten jutsu, absorbed the lightning as it streaked toward the Kunoichi and became a maelstrom of electrified water. Samui wasn't able to react in time and was engulfed by the wave, causing her to scream out in pain as she was blown backwards while lightning coursed through her body. When the jutsu ended, Samui fell to the ground and lay there limply, barely conscious as her body twitched occasionally from the residual electricity. Hayate walked up and inspected the Kunoichi, and upon seeing that she wasn't going to be able to continue the fight in her current condition, raised his hand into the air. Samui is unable to continue, said Hayate, and so, the winner of the first match of the Chunin exam's third phase, is Naruto Uchiha. The arena was silent for a moment, but slowly, building up to a large crescendo, the stadium erupted with applause. Naruto smiled as he faced the crowd and raised his hands in the air before yelling out, "Believe it, Adebayo." Naruto made his way back to the competitors section of the stands to receive congratulations from several of his fellow Konoha shinobi. After a bit of talk, the announcer silenced the stadium to declare the second matchup and Shikamaru entered the arena to face a blonde Kunoichi wearing a Sunagakure Hatayate and carrying a large fan. Troublesome, thought Shikamaru. I only signed up here because Ino wouldn't shut up and my mom threatened to punish me if I backed out of this, and now I have to fight a girl in the first round? Just great. I guess I could just forfeit. Shikamaru Nara, yelled out the voice of Nara Yoshino, Shikamaru's mother and the matriarch of the Nara clan, If you even think of throwing this match without even trying because it's too troublesome, I will confiscate your shogi sets and put you to work tending to the deer during all your free time." "Damn it," swore Shikamaru, "I guess I have to fight now." "Troublesome? What's with you?" asked Temari, "It's like you don't even want to be here?" "In all honesty," said Shikamaru, "I wouldn't have entered if my mom and my teammate hadn't pressured me so much. It's just too much trouble. But it seems I'm gonna have to give it my all here." "What a drag." "If both contestants are ready," said Genma, "begin." Shikamaru immediately jumped backwards just in time to dodge a powerful swing from the Sunakunoichi's large folded fan, landing in a crouch with his fingers steepled as he watched his opponent. "You're good with that fan," said Shikamaru, "I'd bet you're quite skilled with futon jutsu." "Huh?" said Temari as she raised an eyebrow. "Not bad, but that much is obvious, isn't it? It doesn't mean you'll beat me." Shikamaru threw several shuriken, but the kunoichi quickly deflected them with her fan before opening the giant weapon and readying it. "Let's see you handle this," said Temari before swinging her fan, Kamaitachi no Jutsu. Temari sent a blast of wind from her fan that was filled with invisible vacuum blades that slammed into the lazy Nara, tearing him apart until he was covered in a poof of smoke and replaced with a shattered log. "Kawarimi," muttered Temari before dodging to the side to avoid several kunai that stabbed into the ground, and, upon noticing the explosive tags tied to the ring of the kunai, she barely had enough time to dive out of the range of the explosion. "DCH, childish tricks," muttered Temari as she looked around for her opponent. "Where is he?" Suddenly, two copies of the lazy Jinan burst from the trees and raced at her, holding a kunai in their hand, but what was most shocking, was that both copies cast a shadow on the ground under their feet. "Cage Bunshine," said Temari in shock. "No way. You can't have the chakra for that." "Care to test that theory?" asked Shikamaru, "or are you gonna call my bluff?" Temari looked at the ground and noticed a thin shadow connecting the two Bunshine and figured they planned to snare her with ninja wire to force her to surrender, so she smirked and ran forward, leaping over one Bunshine and landing lightly behind them. But when she tried to turn and attack, she found her body was unable to move. "Cage main no jutsu success," said Shikamaru as his Bunshine faded away, revealing it to be a standard one with the original's shadow stretched under it. When Temari had leapt over it, her shadow had connected, and allowed Shikamaru to paralyze her. "Now," said Shikamaru as he bent down, forcing the Sunakunoichi to copy him, "I suggest you forfeit." Temari saw her hand involuntarily reach for her kunai pouch and realized the teen was planning to force her to hurt herself, so she decided to try and call his bluff. "If we try to stab ourselves, you'll be hurt too, right?" she smirked, before realizing that Shikamaru's hand was empty. Seeing her shocked look, he allowed a smirk and raised his hand to his neck, forcing her to press her blade to her throat. "I switched sides while we were in the trees. Crap," thought Temari, "I need to be present during the invasion. I can't lose here." Pumping chakra to her muscles, the kunoichi fought against the jutsu that held her captive, slowly moving her hand away from her neck and smirking as she saw Shikamaru's hand move to follow her movements. "So that's it," smirked Temari, "I may be forced to follow your movements, but you have to follow mine as well." Shikamaru grimaced at her realization about the weakness of his jutsu and quickly cancelled it and rolled to the side to dodge a blast of razor wind from a swing of Temari's giant fan. Rolling to his feet, he managed to pull off a kawarimi just in time to avoid being shredded by a blast of chakra-infused wind that Temari sent at him. Reappearing behind the Sunakunoichi, he threw several kunai at her that had explosive notes attacked, but she quickly spun and sent them flying back at him with a swing of her fan, causing the notes to catch him in their explosion, leaving him lying prone on the ground. "Give up yet?" asked Temari. "Troublesome," groaned Shikamaru from where he lay on the ground. "Yeah. I'm out. I've got several more plans, but with the injuries you've given me, they only have a 53% chance of success. Plus, even if I do win, there's no guarantee that I'll be in any condition to fight in the upcoming matches. I forfeit." "Alright then," sighed Hayate, "winner by forfeit, Temari." The crowd cheered, but it was a bit more subdued than it was after Naruto's match, probably due to the anticlimactic finish. Sitting in the spectators section of the stands, Yoshino Nara sighed and pressed her hand to her face as she shook her head. "Troublesome," she muttered. The combatants exited the field and Shikamaru was escorted to the medics on duty to deal with the injuries he had suffered, while Temari was sent to the contestants section, the staff instructed to only give basic to prevent serious injury. "That guy," thought Temari, "he's a lazy ass. But he could have ended the match earlier if he wanted. The question is why? XXX that Brad has a real lazy streak," chuckled the Kazekage, "but he has a good head on his shoulders." Bah, snorted A Chunin can't just call it quits when things look tough. Perhaps, said Hiruzen, but foresight and good judgment are. He likely was quite serious when he said that he had several more plans thought up. A shinobi should be able to know when a mission is unlikely to succeed and when continuing would only lead to meaningless pain and possibly death. Indeed, said the Kazekage, despite losing his match, I would support his promotion to Chunin. Let's see how the rest of the competitors do before making any final judgments, said Hiruzen. Sounds fair, nodded the Raikage. Scene XX. As soon as the previous combatants had cleared the arena, Hayate prepared to call the next two down. Round 3, said Hayate, Gaara vs Kankuro. I forfeit, yelled Kankuro hastily as he made a point to ignore the murderous glare borderlining on psychotic that Gaara had aimed at him. There was silence in the arena before Hayate coughed into his hand and nodded. Right then, winner by forfeit, Gaara. Will Hyuga, Neji and Koro report to the arena? Neji entered the arena and faced off against a tan girl with bright red hair that wore a sword across her back. Seeing the Kuma symbol on her headband, he scowled. I'm surprised that Konoha let trash like you into the village after what you pulled at the negotiations last time, he spat. Ha, scoffed the Kumonin, you talk big, Hyuga, but I can tell by that headband that you're just another lackey of the main branch. And, as I recall, it was Konoha that killed our shinobi and sent a body double instead when we asked for the murderer. Neji's scowl darkened and he slipped into a Juoken stance, prompting Hayate to start the match before either combatant did something they'd regret later. Hajime. Koro made to draw her sword, but before she could react, Neji had already sped into her guard in a Juoken stance. You are within my field of divination, said Neji, Hakiraku Juion Sho. Neji slammed his hands into Koro's torso, first 2 times, then 4, then 8, then 16, continuing until he delivered 64 strikes that released bursts of chakra into the girl's tenketsu, sealing them shut and forcing her to stagger back and fall to her knees as her ability to use chakra was severely crippled temporarily. The Hyuga prodigy didn't stop there though, and thrust his palm at the kunoichi, slamming her with a vacuum shell that sent her flying across the arena to slam into the wall, causing cracks to form before she fell to the ground unconscious. Scene XX. Father, said Hanabi Hyuga, Hinata's younger sister, from where she sat in the stands, was that? Indeed, said Hiyashi Hyuga, that was the Haki Rakujuion Sho and the Haki Kusho, 2 main branch techniques. If Neji was able to learn them on his own, then he has even greater potential than I initially assumed. Hizashi, thought the Hyuga clan head sadly, if only you had been born first, then the clan would never have stunted such a bright young child. Scene XX. Seeing that Karu is obviously in no condition to continue, Hayate called the match in Neji's favor and called medics to take Koro to be treated at the hospital. Will Rock Lee and Sasuke Uchiha report to the arena? Hayate called out as he prepared to start the next match, but, while the green-clad Jonin leapt into the arena, his Uchiha opponent was nowhere to be seen. Murmurs began to pass through the crowd as they wondered what was going on, and in the cage's box, a similar conversation was occurring as well. Scene XX. Humph, said A. I'd have thought your shinobi would be more punctual, Hokage-sama. Being late to his own match doesn't make a good impression. Hiruzen pinched the bridge of his nose, knowing that the Uchiha's tardiness was more than likely due to Kakashi's reliability. I'm afraid I have to excuse for this. Perhaps we could give Uchiha-san some leniency? Asked the Kazekage. Doing that would only spoil the brat, said A. If he doesn't show up, then he should fail. He will have 10 minutes, said Hiruzen as he shot the Kazekage a look. That is what I will allow any combatant to have. If he exceeds that, then he will fail by default. If you say so, Hokage-sama, said the Kazekage. Scene XX. 7 minutes passed and the crowd was getting antsy waiting for Sasuke, but luckily, he appeared right at the 9-minute mark with Kakashi standing at his side. Sorry we're late, said Sasuke, but my sensei was adamant about being late and wouldn't haul his ass until I stole his porn. Hayate sighed and shook his head, knowing about Kakashi's reputation, and motioned for Sasuke to get into position as Kakashi headed to the stands via Shunshine. I am glad you arrived on time, said Lee as he slid into a Goken stance. I have thought long and hard about what you said before the first exam, and I believe you are right. I am going to become a genius myself by pushing past my limitations while being a splendid taijutsu master. That's good to hear, said Sasuke with a smirk, surprising the green-clad Jonin as he slipped into a stance that mirrored his own, but that doesn't mean I'll go easy on you. I would not have it any other way, said Lee with a smile. If both contestants are ready, said Hayate, then begin. As soon as the proctor started the match, Lee shot forward at Sasuke and forced the Uchiha to backpedal to dodge a strong kick to his midsection. Before Sasuke could fully recover, Lee attacked with a quick series of punches and kicks that sent Sasuke tumbling back across the ground. However, just as Lee was starting to feel confident, Sasuke's beaten form was covered in a poof of smoke and replaced with a log. "Kawarimi?" said Lee in surprise before he had to flip out of the way to avoid several kunai that Sasuke had thrown at him from behind. "You're fast," said Sasuke, "but I've been preparing to deal with speed like yours." "Well then," said Lee, "I will have to try harder then." Konoha Senpu. Lee launched into a series of spinning roundhouse kicks that Sasuke had to dodge with another Kawarimi. "Kaden," said Sasuke as he leapt out of the trees behind Lee, "Karyudan." The green-clad Jonin's eyes widened and he was barely able to dodge out of the way of a torrent of fire that Sasuke breathed out of his mouth, receiving some burns on his arm. Lee glanced at the burns and noted that he would still be able to fight, before turning back to his opponent. Scene XX Sasuke-kun seems to have an excellent grasp of Kaden Jutsu, noted the Kazekage as he watched the match, though the Uchiha have been known for their Kaden affinity. "Indeed," said the boy is quite skilled, but his opponent has yet to use any ninjutsu of his own." "Well," said Hiruzen, "it's not that he hasn't used any, but rather that he can't." "Explain," said as he glanced at the Hokage, "why is a boy like him even competing if he cannot perform any jutsu?" "While Lee-kun has no talent in ninjutsu or genjutsu, he has been trained by our greatest taijutsu master and can even rival a Hyuga in the art," said the Hokage with pride. "He has turned a limitation into a way for him to grow ever stronger and has become a splendid shinobi of Konoha." "Humph," snorted the Raikage, "I doubt a shinobi that cannot use ninjutsu will be able to survive for very long, but let's just see." "Indeed," thought Hiruzen as he went back to watching the match, "after all, your own fighting style relies mostly on taijutsu, Raikage Dono." Scene XX back in the arena, Lee rolled to his feet after dodging a Gokaku no Jutsu from Sasuke and caught his breath as he tried to think up another move. "I cannot get close enough to Sasuke-kun to use any taijutsu," he thought, "and if I can't get past his ninjutsu, I won't be able to win." "Lee," yelled Guy from the Jonin section of the stands, "take them off." Lee turned to the stands and almost got blasted by another Kaden jutsu from Sasuke. "Lee," said Sasuke, "you won't get the chance to ask your sensei for permission in a real combat setting. If you need to do something, then do it." Lee hesitated before nodding and reaching down to his leg warmers. He pulled them up to reveal several sets of training weights with the kanji for guts written on them. Sasuke raised an eyebrow as he watched Lee, musing that, while Lee hadn't been moving at full power, a few dropped pounds wouldn't make a difference. The resulting crater formed when Lee tossed the weights aside quickly changed his mind. "Ah," said Lee, "now I can move freely. Let us continue." Sasuke barely had a moment to react before Lee shot at him, moving so fast that he was only a blur, landing a powerful kick that knocked Sasuke back. "Dynamic entry," yelled Lee as the kick made contact and sent Sasuke flying across the ground. "Shit!" swore Sasuke as he got to his feet and was knocked back again as Lee attacked him again and again. He even activated his Sharingan to see if he could track the team. And upon receiving a fist across the jaw that he could see but not react to in time answered that question. "Okay," said Sasuke as he flipped hack and cracked his jaw back into place, "that answers that question." Moving his hands into a ram sign and cut the chakra flowing into his training bands, removing the resistance the bands placed against his movements, causing the Uchiha to smirk as he blocked Lee's next kick with his arm, moving fast enough to counter now that he had removed his own weights. "Round 2 then," said Sasuke before he shot off in a blur at the green-clad Jonin. The two of them clashed in a battle of taijutsu at speeds so fast that only the shinobi in the audience that were trained to track such speeds. "You are skilled, Sasuke-kun," said Lee as he blocked a flurry of punches that Sasuke sent at him. "I did not expect you to be wearing weights as well. You gotta go the extra mile if you want to grow," said Sasuke as he dodged away from a kick Lee tried to plant into his stomach, "but I think this match is about over." "Indeed," said Lee as he flipped back, "for I too have a trump card." "Kaimon, Kai." Scene XX Guy, said Kakashi, "You didn't." "Hey," smirked Guy, "you didn't think that I would just teach him the Goken technique? Lee is like me and I trained him to become the best taijutsu user that he can be." "But teaching a Jonin to open 8 gates, said Kakashi, "how many can he open?" "5, said Guy, "at his level, he can open 5 of the 8. I have my faith that he will prevail." "Well," said Kakashi, "my student is quite impressive as well." Scene XX What is he doing? thought Sasuke as he watched Lee with his Sharingan. His chakra just spiked like crazy. "I will not quit," said Lee, "not ever." "Cuban, Kai. Simon, Kai. What the?" exclaimed Sasuke as he saw Lee's skin turn red as the ground cracked from the chakra flowing around him. "I will become a great shinobi," yelled Lee, "Shoman, Kai." Sasuke's eyes widened as he saw Lee's chakra spike even more and he quickly made a ram seal and channeled his chakra. "I will win," declared Lee, "Taman, Kai." Sasuke barely had a moment to react before Lee was in front of him. The green-clad Genin quickly delivered a powerful kick that sent Sasuke flying into the air before he leapt up and delivered a barrage of kicks and punches at inhuman speeds, ending with a punch-kick combo that sent the Uchiha crashing into the center of the arena, with Lee falling to the ground next to him. "Hey," chuckled Sasuke weakly, "that was good. But I've won." "What do you mean?" grunted Lee from where he lay prone. Sasuke only smiled and his body vanished like a mirage to show the real Sasuke standing by the arena wall with his Sharingan active. "Genjutsu," said Lee before unconsciousness claimed him. "Rock Lee is unable to continue," said Hayate. "The winner is Sasuke Uchiha." Scene XX. "Hey, an excellent strategy," smirked A as he watched the outcome, using the brat's own strength against him. "I do hope he continues to impress, Hokage-sama," said the Kazekage. "As do I," said Hiruzen as he watched the Kazekage's bodyguards out of the corner of his eye. "As do I." The arena erupted with cheers for Sasuke, and, much to the Uchiha's dismay, the cries of his fan club were heard shrieking his name through the applause. With a sigh, Sasuke walked back to the competitors' area and watched as the rest of the matches. What followed was a pair of quick battles, with Choji being shocked by several Raiten jutsu and held at sword point by Akumo Shinobi, and Hinata pounding Ina's fangirl ass into the ground when she accidentally insulted Naruto by saying he was holding Sasuke back. Once the arena had been cleared from the last match, Hayate stepped forward to address the gathered audience. "Now that the first round is over, I will explain how the following rounds will be structured. The rest of the tournament will be arranged through random selection. Please turn your attention to our selector screen." The audience and the competitors turned to look at a screen situated above the arena's combat area and watched as different pairs of pictures flickered across the screen randomly until the Konoha ID photos of Neji and Hinata Hyuga were displayed on the screen. "The first match is between Neji Hyuga and Hinata Hyuga," said Hayate. "Will the two combatants please enter the arena?" The audience watched as the two Hyuga took their places in the arena, their inactive Byakugan staring into each other as they waited. "Just give up," said Neji. "You have no chance of winning here. Fate has already decreed that I will emerge victorious." "Nihiniasan," said Hinata, "why do you think fates cannot be changed? You yourself are fighting to change your own fate." Neji shook his head. "Those who are born into success will succeed. Those who are born failures will always be that. You are weak, and as such, you will not beat me." "Fighters ready?" said Hayate. "Begin." "Byakugan," said Neji and Hinata as they activated their Dujutsu and closed the distance between the two of them. Neji began to attack with a flurry of Juoken strikes, but much to his surprise, Hinata fluidly dodged out of the way before landing a strike of her own onto one of his own Tenketsu, causing the elder Hyuga to wince in pain as the Tenketsu was sealed off. "I see you've begun using a bastardization of the Juoken," said Neji as he flexed his arm to try and shake off the pain. "Typical of a failure." "Is it a failure when you adapt to fit the circumstances?" asked Hinata before she rushed at Neji and begun her offensive. Hinata attacked Neji with several Juoken strikes that he parried with ease, but when he moved to counter her, she used her natural flexibility and agility to flow around her cousin's blows and would have nearly landed several blows to his Tenketsu if Neji hadn't managed to parry the attack and close 3 points on her arms. Hinata was not daunted by this and attacked again, flowing past Neji's defenses and striking several of the Tenketsu on his torso, causing him to stagger back. "Nihiniasan," said Hinata, "I will show you that we are not bound to our fate, and have the ability to make our own choices." "Unlikely," said Neji. "You may have a new form of Juoken that allows you to counter the original, but a loser will always remain one." Neji quickly attacked Hinata, forcing her on the defensive as he unleashed a ferocious barrage of strikes that she was only barely able to dodge using her new style of Juoken. Unfortunately, her advantage came to an end and Neji landed several strikes on her heart, causing her to go up in smoke due to Kawarimi, leaving a small ball that promptly exploded, causing Neji to get a face full of pepper. As he tried to clear his eyes, Hinata leapt at him from behind and, as he turned, she knocked him off balance. Hinata then struck at her elder cousin with a series of fluid Juoken blows that he was hard-pressed to dodge due to her utilizing her natural agility and flexibility to force Neji into a defensive position, as her strikes were hard to predict and avoid, even with his Byakugan. Seeing that he had no choice, Neji expelled chakra outward from his active tenketsu and spinning in his spot, causing the chakra to rotate around him violently, forming a sphere that knocked Hinata back. Scene XX Hisashi, murmured Hiyashi, if only I were born second. Neji has so much promise and raw talent, it is a shame he is forced to remain in the branch family. To-sama, said Hanabi from her place next to her father, how did Nahina-sama learn that technique? Isn't it only taught to the main branch? Indeed, said Hiyashi, it is likely he learned it through mere observation and vast amounts of raw skill and practice. He is truly one of the most gifted prodigies to come from the Hyuga clan in generations. Hanabi's eyes widened and she turned her attention onto the fight, activating her Byakugan so she wouldn't miss a moment. Scene XX Hinata quickly recovered from being thrown back and flipped backward to avoid being struck by her cousin, and to put some space between them before she made several hand seals. Suten, Teppodama, yelled Hinata before she spat out several spheres of water that flew quickly toward her cousin at high speed. Neji simply narrowed his eyes and began the rotation again, blocking the attack with the spinning barrier of chakra. Coming to a stop, he faced the heiress with a look of disdain. To think that you have to resort to ninjutsu to gain an upper hand, he scoffed. How far the main branch has fallen. Ninjutsu is a shinobi skill, countered Hinata, and we are shinobi. Futon, Rinkudan, Hinata spat another blast at her cousin, this time being of highly compressed wind. Once again, Neji used rotation to block the attack, but this time there was a difference. This time, when the blast of air impacting the spiraling barrier, the bullet exploded violently. The resulting blast knocked the teen out of his technique and sent him tumbling across the dirt ground. As he got to his feet, he didn't have much time to recover, as Hinata quickly threw several kunai with flashbang bombs attached to the ring on the hilt, forcing Neji to use a kawarimi to dodge. Neji scowled before charging at Hinata with chakra practically glowing from his bomb. Neji buried his hand into Hinata's gut, causing her eyes to widen in pain. Before she was replaced with a splintered log wrapped with glowing seal tags. Neji saw the seals and hastily deactivated his Byakugan as the flash bomb seals wrapped around the log were triggered, enveloping the elder Hyuga in an intense light. Had he not deactivated his Dujutsu, he would have caught the blinding flash in his eyes, made worse by the enhanced visual prowess of his eyes. When the Hyuga opened his eyes, he saw Hinata closing and aiming a Juuken strike at him. Frowning, he dodged her strike and grabbed her arm to keep her from escaping before slamming a strike of his own into her heart. Much to his surprise, Hinata went up in a poof of smoke, revealing her to be a cage bunshine. Haki, Neji heard from behind him, making his eyes widen as he realized that he had forgotten to reactivate his Byakugan after defending against the makeshift flash bomb, Sanjuni Sho. Neji quickly activated his eyes, but wasn't able to move in time to avoid Hinata's attack. Hinata quickly struck at his tenketsu, sealing them off, causing him to stagger forward and fall to the ground. Scene XX an impressive strategy, said the Kazekage, utilizing a flash bomb to disable the Byakugan before capitalizing on that advantage with the use of cage bunshine. Hey, said the girl is skilled, though she uses more techniques than the normal Hyuga. She's the heiress, right? Indeed, said Hiruzen carefully, remembering the incident years ago where one of the Raikage's men had orchestrated the kidnapping of said heiress in an attempt to gain access to the Byakugan. Bah, snorted the Raikage as he caught Hiruzen's tone, I have no interest in that girl. It was my father that arranged for her kidnapping and I objected to that plan. I see, said Hiruzen. But despite the failings of my predecessor, said the girl shows a good amount of skill. Hell, even the other Hyuga brat does as well. Yes, Hiruzen, he does. He apparently learned several of the main branch techniques through skill and observation alone. Interesting, said the Kazekage, truly he is an impressive shinobi then, regardless of his loss. Hiruzen merely glanced at the Kazekage and his guards in silence, knowing there were hidden motives behind the man's words. Scene XX how? Gasped Neji from where he lay on the ground. Nay Hinata, said Hinata, you said that we are bound by our fates, but you yourself have fought to break free without even realizing it. Wouldn't most say that it is the fate of the branch family to stand in the shadow of the main branch? Yet you stand tall and have shown yourself to be a strong shinobi, having mastered two of the main branch's secret techniques through pure skill and determination. Many see the branch family as a caged bird that longs to fly, But I think you have already shattered your cage and spread your wings. I became strong just like you did, by not being bound by my status or weaknesses and pushing past them. I will never give up, that is my ninja way. Will you persevere as well? DCH, scoffed Neji, but he remained silent. Since Neji is unable to battle, I pronounce Hinata Hyuga to be the winner, said Hayate. The audience erupted in cheers and several medics carried Neji off the field and to the hospital to be treated. As the audience calmed down, Hiyashi slipped away and headed to have a long-awaited talk with his nephew. Scene XX, could she be right? Muttered Neji as he lay in a hospital bed, bandaged and attached to an IV drip. He was interrupted from his musings by the opening of the door to his room, and when he looked, he saw the clan head, Hiyashi Hyuga, standing there. Neji, said Hiyashi, it's time we had a talk. Once the arena had been cleared of combatants, Hayate walked back to the center and activated the match randomizer. The audience watched with anticipation as the names of the combatants flashed across the screen before coming to a rest on 2. The next match, said Hayate, will be between Sasuke Uchiha and Masamune Tenten. Will both combatants please enter the arena? As Sasuke faced his opponent, he couldn't help but feel a bit eager for this fight. This girl was unlike any of the other kunoichi in the village. She possessed none of their fangirl tendencies and instead held herself with confidence and worked to better her skills, or so Kakashi had told him when he asked about Lee's teammates. Looks like we'll be facing each other after all, said Tenten. I admit I've been hoping to see more of that sort of yours. My, said Sasuke with a teasing smirk, that is a rather forward remark. We barely know each other. Upon looking back at what she had just said and spotting the double innuendo, Tenten blushed as pink as her outfit before sputtering, I didn't mean that. Chuckling a bit, Sasuke unsheathed Kuketsuki and held it in a ready pose as he activated his Sharingan. I know. Humph, muttered Tenten with a light blush as she unsealed the Kusarigama and spun the chain. Just for that, I'm not going to go easy on you. If both fighters are ready, said Hayate, then begin. Upon hearing the proctor give the signal to start, Tenten leapt back to put some distance between her and her opponent, before hurling several shuriken at Sasuke with pinpoint accuracy. Luckily for the Uchiha, his training with Kakashi had helped his reaction time, so, by activating his Sharingan, he was able to deflect the incoming weapons with the edge of his sword. Tenten didn't give him much time to counter though, as she threw several kunai that had explosive tags attached. The resulting explosion engulfed Sasuke in fire and smoke, but when the air cleared, all that was seen was a splintered log. Where'd you go? Muttered Tenten. Kaden, Gokakyu no Jutsu, yelled Sasuke as he leapt out of the trees behind Tenten and spat a large fireball at the enemy kunoichi. Shit! Swore Tenten as she spun around and unsealed a large club that she used to block the flames, before sealing it away and unsealing two Kadachi and lunging at Sasuke. Sasuke quickly drew the blade he had claimed in battle and deflected the girl's slashes, but still got a few cuts from the slashes that got past his defenses. Looks like first blood is mine, said Tenten as their blades clashed again. Don't be so happy about it, said Sasuke as he broke the clash and took some of the blood from a cut and spread it on the blade. Time for my surprise. Suddenly, lightning covered the blade of Kuketsuki, and Sasuke held it at the ready, you like? Tenten had to keep herself from squealing in excitement at seeing the abilities of the legendary sword from Kumo. While she was most certainly a kunoichi and not a fangirl, she was however, a weapon nerd. It can actually do that? She said eagerly, what else can that sword do? Let me show you, said Sasuke as he rushed at the girl. Tenten quickly resealed her swords and threw several shuriken at the Uchiha, but he simply swung his sword to intercept them, slicing through the metal stars with ease thanks to the lightning coating the blade. Impressive, said Tenten. You haven't seen anything yet, said Sasuke as he adjusted his grip so that he could make a hand seal, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Wait, what? Exclaimed Tenten as 3 Kage Bunshin appeared in a poof of smoke. What did you expect? Asked one Sasuke with a smirk as the clones and him readied their swords. With how much Naruto loves the jutsu, how could I not pick it up? Sasuke and his copies then rushed at Tenten, all of them wielding lightning-covered swords, prompting her to curse, well, shit. The kunoichi was forced onto the defensive, as now she faced attacks from 4 opponents, each of them wielding a lightning-covered sword. She managed to land a solid hit on one, causing it to dispel, but the other 2 quickly made several hand seals. Katen, Hosen Kano Jutsu, yelled the Kage Bunshin, sending a barrage of fireballs at Tenten. Damn it, swore Tenten as she made to dodge. Scene XX The Uchiha boy is quite skilled, said the Kazekage, he shows skill in controlling the flow of the battle. Indeed, said Hiruzen as he watched Tenten weave through the onslaught of fireballs that Sasuke and his Bunshine were shooting at her, but his opponent is proving to be most competent as well. She has to be to go against Kuketsuki, said A. How did Konoha come to possess the cursed blood-sucking sword anyway? Kumo has had it reported lost for decades. Well, said Hiruzen, apparently, it was in the possession of a missing nin that was dealt with by Sasuke's team. The Uchiha probably claimed the sword after defeating its owner. Humph, grunted A. He obviously wasn't happy, as he wanted Kumo to reclaim their property, but he couldn't really dispute that the brat had a claim on it as a spoil of war. Kumo had taken better things from other villages for less. In any case, said the Kazekage, Sasuke-kun seems to have the advantage, despite his opponent being older and hopefully more experienced than him. Masamu Neshan is indeed his senior by a year, nodded Hiruzen. Her team had the chance to enter the exams last year, but they chose to postpone in favor of sharpening their skills. She may be skilled, but I have confidence in the boy, said the Kazekage. Indeed, said Hiruzen again as he glanced at the Kazekage carefully. Scene XX that's it, said Tenten as she finished dodging the fireballs and backflipped several times to put some distance between her and Sasuke. I'm ending this. Pulling out 2 scrolls, the weapon-wielding kunoichi placed them upright next to her before making several hand seals. Sashoryu. The scrolls exploded with smoke, before they spiraled upward and unfurled, resembling 2 twisting serpentine dragons. The kunoichi then leapt up out of the smoke, rising between the scrolls, before reaching for the scrolls and unsealing a weapon for each hand and hurling it at Sasuke and his clones, repeating the process until she unleashed a rain of bladed weapons was descending on Sasuke. The Uchiha barely had time to react as swords, kunai, shuriken, kusarigama, and various other weapons, flew at him in a rain of death. When the smoke from the attack cleared, Sasuke's bruised and bleeding body was seen sprawled on the ground, causing several dozen members of his fan club to faint in the stands. That's that, said Tenten as she landed on her feet, but suddenly, the corpse vanished in a poof of smoke revealing it to be a cage Bunshine. What the? Before she could react, Sasuke appeared in front of her, within her guard, in a burst of speed, having removed his resistance seals in the confusion when he switched with one of his copies, and slammed a kick to the underside of her chin, sending Tenten flying into the air. My turn, said Sasuke before leaping up after her. I'll be borrowing this, Lee. Sasuke rose up to Tenten as she flew up from his kick and grabbed her shirt before spinning in midair and landing several aerial strikes, resembling an attack that a certain spandex-wearing Jinan had used in a previous match. Lion's Barrage, yelled Sasuke as he finished with a kick that sent the girl smashing into the ground before landing softly next to her. Hayate walked up and noted that Tenten was in no condition to continue before raising his hand. Masamune Tenten is unable to battle. The winner of this round is Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke reached down and carefully picked Tenten up, getting a groan from the older Jinan. It was a good fight, said the Uchiha. Not good enough, muttered Tenten. Maybe you and I can train more when you get out of the hospital, said Sasuke. I'd like to learn some of those tricks you used. Maybe, chuckled Tenten as she was put on a stretcher, just don't lose to anyone else. I don't intend to, smirked Sasuke before he went to take his place on the stands. Once the weapons had been cleared from the arena, the randomizer was set again, but when it came to a stop, whispered murmurs swept through the stadium at the matchup shown on the screen. Well, said Naruto, looks like it's my turn T-Bio. Naruto Uzumaki Uchiha vs Sabaku no Gaara. As Naruto walked into the arena, he could practically taste the bloodlust that was radiating off Gaara as the redhead stood across from him. As he faced his opponent, he took in the teen's bloodshot eyes and the dark rings under them, and saw a person on the brink of insanity. This isn't going to be easy, thought Naruto. Oigaki, said the Kyuubi from within Naruto's seal, be careful about that Sunaningan. I can smell the power of a bijou coming off of him. Specifically the Ichibi Tanuki, Shukaku. You mean he's like me? Asked Naruto mentally. He's a Jinchuriki? Grunted the Kyuubi in acknowledgement, and unlike you, the seal holding his bijou in his shit. Judging by the looks of him, that bastard Tanuki has been eating away at his sanity and he's about ready to snap. Be on your guard with him. If you die, I die too after all. Got it, said Naruto before glancing at Gaara, who was looking at him as if measuring his worth. Mother wants your blood, said Gaara. I will kill you here and prove my existence. You need serious help, said Naruto. The voice in your head isn't your mother. No, said Gaara, you won't confuse me. Mother will have your blood. Guess some messages need to be beaten into their skulls, said Naruto as he got into a stance. Begin. yelled Hayate before he jumped clear. Naruto quickly initiated combat by pulling out several shuriken that he threw at Gaara with pinpoint accuracy, but if he expected the Sunagenon to react, he would be surprised as Gaara simply stood there and gazed at the incoming weapons dismissively. As the weapons were about to strike the teen, a tendril of sand shot from the gourd on his back and knocked the weapons out of the air. "What the?" exclaimed Naruto. "Sand? Gaki, watch out," yelled the Kyuubi from within the seal, causing Naruto to jump away just in time to avoid getting grabbed by the sand tendril. The blonde Jinchuriki flipped back several feet to put some distance between the two of them before forming a cross-hand seal, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto created a group of Kage Bunshin and had them rush at Gaara from different angles, but the opposing Shinon was once again defended by the sand in his gourd as it shot out and wrapped around the Bunshin, lifting them up into the air. "Sabaku-kyu," declared Gaara as he raised his hand before clenching it into a fist. "Sabaku SOSO." The sand surrounding the Kage Bunshin suddenly compressed, crushing the life out of the copies and causing them to dispel in puffs of smoke. Naruto paled as he saw this, as he realized that if that happened to him, it would be game over. Permanently. The blonde didn't have much time to contemplate this, as more sand shot from the gourd and flew toward him along with the sand used to crush his Bunshin. Naruto made several hand seals as he dodged the sand, before taking a deep breath and raising his hand to his mouth. "Kaden, Gokakyu no Jutsu," yelled Naruto before breathing out a stream of fire that slammed into the sand, fusing some of it into steaming glass, but the sand that managed to escape the onslaught simply flowed over the fused portions and flew at Naruto. "Crap," swore the blonde as he had to quickly dodge out of the way, creating a Kage Bunshin to launch him out of the way as the sand flowed over the Bunshin and crushed it. "Gotta try something different." Making several more hand seals, Naruto channeled his immense chakra reserves in preparation for his next jutsu, Suten, Suryuden no Jutsu. Naruto took a deep breath and spat out a torrent of water that transformed into a dragon shape and slammed it to the incoming sand, soaking it with water and causing it to fall to the ground in a heap. "XX that brat," said the Raikage. "He's able to use a high-level Suten ninjutsu without any additional source of water? Just how much raw chakra does he have?" "Naruto-kun has always had much more chakra than the normal shinobi," said Hiruzen. "If I were to guess at his current reserves, I would assume them to be somewhere around high Jonin to low Kage approximately." The Kazekage's eyes widened at that revelation. To think that a mere Jinan could have such vast reserves of chakra at such a young age. "That's pretty impressive," said the Raikage, "but the brat he's fighting doesn't seem to be any slouch either. He hasn't moved 1 inch from where he started, and yet still hasn't taken any damage from his opponent's attacks." "Indeed," said the Kazekage, "Gaara is one of Suna's most promising shinobi. The entire desert is his to command, and the sand will automatically shield him from any harm." "Most intriguing," said Hiruzen as he watched the match. "So his sand moves without him having to summon it?" "Yes," said the Kazekage, "I'm afraid your Jinan won't be able to pull off a victory here." "We'll see," said Hiruzen. "I've learned not to bet against Naruto-kun." "XXXO," said Naruto with a smirk. "Water turns your sand into mud. Good to know." "That knowledge will do you no good," said Gaara as he raised his hand toward Naruto. "Mother will still have your blood." "And how will you do that without any sand?" asked Naruto. Gaara chose not to respond and instead gestured with his extended hand, causing sand to explode from the ground around Naruto, wrapping around him and blocking his escape. "Shit," thought Naruto, "I didn't know he could create sand from the ground." "Now it's over," said Gaara as the sand flowed tightly around Naruto's body. "Sabaku-kyu." "Gotta think of something," muttered Naruto as the sand tightened its grip. "I'll have to use it." "Sabaku," said Gaara as he prepared to end the match. "Shinra-tensei," yelled Naruto as he blasted the sand away from his body using his Rinnegan, causing him to drop to the ground with the Rinnegan blazing in his eyes. "XX those eyes," breathed the Raikage as he saw Naruto's Dujutsu. "Hiruzen, you never said one of your Jinan had the eyes of the Rikudo Sannin." "It is a rather recent development and a tightly guarded secret," said the Hokage sharply, "and if you or your village even thinks about taking him, I will not be merciful." "Humph," scoffed A. "No need to worry, old man, if the Rinnegan was so easy to acquire, we would have had it years ago." "Even still," said the Kazekage, "to think the boy had such an ability hidden away, he has great potential, Hokage-sama." "Indeed," said Hiruzen, "I have high hopes for him and the rest of Team 7. They have shown much promise as shinobi." "I see," said the Kazekage as he turned his attention back to the match. "XX impossible," breathed Gaara as he watched Naruto counter his signature attack. "My turn," said Naruto as he created 2 Kage Bunshin, Futon, Daitapa. Katen, Gokaku no Jutsu, yelled Naruto's Bunshin as the Y breathed out torrents of fire. The flames from the Kage Bunshin mixed with the blast of wind that Naruto breathed out, transforming into a massive firestorm that streaked toward Gaara. His sand automatically rose up to intercept the flames, and was once again fused into glass as it blocked the onslaught. 3 tendrils of sand rose up and stabbed through Naruto and his clones, but instead of seeing the blonde die, all 3 of them disappeared in puffs of smoke, revealing them to be Kage Bunshin as well. "What?" said Gaara in surprise before Naruto burst out of the ground behind the Tsunagen Shiriki and slammed a punch into his face. Scene XX no way, breathed Kankuro from where he was watching in the stands. He hit Gaara. "This could get really bad really quick," muttered Baki, the Sand siblings Jonin-sensei. The assembled Suna shinobi watched the battle with tense nerves, hoping that it wouldn't come to a point where Gaara would be inclined to release Shukaku. They had yet to see the signal to commence the invasion, and if they acted early, they risked their allies from Otogaku abandoning them to fend for themselves. It was times like this that made Baki question the Namikaze Kage's decision to ally with Oto and betray Konoha. "As long as the boy doesn't break through Gaara's secondary defense, we should be fine," said Baki as he watched the fight. Scene XX Naruto frowned as he flipped backwards to avoid several tendrils of sand that had shot at him and glanced at his red knuckles. Punching Gaara had felt like punching stone and Naruto could have sworn he heard a cracking sound when his fist made contact. Glancing back at Gaara, Naruto was surprised to see that the teen's skin had chipped and cracked away where he had been hit, but sand was flowing to the affected area to repair the damage. "What is that?" gasped Naruto. "If I was to guess," said the Kyuubi from within Naruto, "I would say that it's a layer of hardened sand covering his body like a second skin and acting as a suit of armor." "Just perfect," grumbled Naruto. "I gotta break through that as well?" "Seems so," said the Kyuubi. "Now move." Naruto jumped out of the way as more sand tried to capture him, resorting to using his Rinnegan to blast some of the sand away to keep from getting crushed. "Perish!" growled Gaara as he raised a wall of sand to block an attack from a Kage Bunshin that Naruto sent at the Suna shinobi, Suna Shuriken. Gaara swung a tendril of sand and sent dozens of shuriken made of hardened sand at the blonde Jinan, causing Naruto to have to frantically dodge, but still get a few cuts across his body from the weapons that he couldn't. "Any suggestions, you damn fox?" growled Naruto as he dodged more tendrils of sand. "Watch your tone, brat," growled the Kyuubi. "Oh shut it," yelled Naruto before he spat out a torrent of water to block a wave of sand. "Do you want me to die?" "Humph," grunted the fox, "you'll have to hit him hard and fast. You'll need to hit him hard and fast to break through that sand armor of his. If you can get close enough, then the jutsu the Todningen taught you might help." "But I have to get close enough," said Naruto, "and to hit him hard enough. I have an idea." Naruto made several Kage Bunshin that rushed at Gaara, dodging waves of sand that moved to crush them as they got closer to the redhead. Several times, the Kage Bunshin used their Shinra Tensei technique to get close enough by blasting sand away, until they were finally close enough to land several punches to the other Jinchuriki, causing him to stagger back. "Uchiha!" yelled the Bunshin as they punched Gaara from various directions, before the original appeared, leaping over Gaara with a spiraling sphere of chakra in his right hand, a hazy sphere of distortion surrounding the technique, helping to hold its shape. "Naruto Rasengan Barrage!" yelled the original as he slammed the sphere in his hand into a wall of sand that had risen up to shield Gaara from his attack. The shield of sand was blasted aside when Naruto used the Shinra Tensei he had used to contain his Rasengan to blast outward and clear the sand away, allowing the blonde to slam his somewhat complete Rasengan into Gaara's body. It was fortunate that Gaara's sand armor was as tough as it was, or he would have likely had a hole torn in his body from the attack. Regardless, he was slammed into the ground as his armor shattered along with several of his ribs, causing him to cough up blood as Naruto ended the attack and landed next to him. "You know," said Naruto, "we aren't that much different. We both carry an immense burden and have more than the average person's worth of inner demons. I could have ended up hating the world and seeking blood to prove my existence, but I don't need to, because I have friends and family to keep me grounded. In fact, you have that too. If it means anything, I'd be happy to be your friend and show you the light hidden in the darkness." "Yeah, you," ground out Gaara. "Because," said Naruto, "out of everyone here, I understand you the most. Maybe we can have someone look at your seal so you can get some peace?" Gaara's eyes widened at the prospect before he lost the fight to remain conscious and slumped to the ground, finding a piece that had escaped him for years in sleep. "Winner," declared Hayate, "Naruto Uzumaki Uchiha." As Naruto walked back to the stands, The Suna shinobi had to gape as their greatest shinobi weapon was carried off to the medical wing to be treated, knowing from the looks of his injuries, that he wouldn't be able to participate in the upcoming invasion. "That technique," said the Raikage as the field was cleared of debris for the next match, "that was the Ondaime Hokage's Rasengan. Why does that boy know it?" "The Ondaime's teacher was the one who trained him for these exams," said Hiruzen. "I believe he taught him many things." Said A, "The boy bears a passing resemblance to the Yellow Flash." "Merely a coincidence," said the Hokage, "he is hardly the only blonde shinobi in our village." "True," said the Kazekage, "and besides, wouldn't the rest of Konoha know if that were the case?" "Perhaps we should focus on the next match," said Hiruzen. "Shinobi from your villages are up." The two Kage nodded and turned their attention to the arena, where Temari and Amoi were preparing to battle. Scene XX. "This is great," sighed the Kumo shinobi. "If I lose here then Koro will beat me up and then Sensei will find out and I'll have to listen to his raps again without end until I start humming it in my sleep, leading me to do so when I'm out with a girl, causing her to break up with me and tell all her friends, and they'll tell all their friends, which will eventually spread to all the girls in Kumo, meaning that I won't ever get a date after that and I'll probably end up sad and alone with only my sword to keep me company and kids will come by and laugh at me when I'm an old man and alone crying into my beer." "Will you shut up?" yelled Temari with several tick marks on her forehead. "Seriously, you're even more annoying than that pineapple-haired lazy ass. Can we just begin this?" "If both combatants are ready," said Hayate, "begin." Temari quickly unfolded her fan partially and swung it at the Kumo shinobi, sending a mighty gale of wind at him using her affinity for futon chakra. The blast of wind slammed into the Kumonin, but instead of sending him flying, his body exploded into a poof of smoke, revealing him to have replaced himself with a Kage Bunshine. "Where'd you go?" muttered Temari. "Kumo Ryu Damashitari," yelled Amoi as he appeared behind Temari, swinging his sword. Temari was barely able to bring her fan up to block the attack, yet it still sent her tumbling across the dirt due to the force behind it. "Damn it," growled the Sunakunoichi as she rolled to her feet and fully unfurled her fan, "but you shouldn't have put distance between us." Kamaitachi no Jutsu. Temari swung her fan hard, sending a powerful blast of wind at the Kumo shinobi, the blast containing several vacuum blades that tore through the arena as they streaked towards the Kumo shinobi at high speed. Amoi was barely able to make several hand seals as the gale slammed into him, but it was enough to activate a Kawarimi, allowing him to safely substitute with a log that was subsequently destroyed. Temari quickly checked her surroundings before spinning and bringing her fan up to block a strike from Amoi's katana. Unfortunately for her, the Kumo shinobi had charged his weapon with Raiten chakra and the energy shocked the kunoichi, forcing her to drop her weapon before getting kicked in the gut, sending her flying back. "Tricky bastard," said Temari as she pulled out several kunai. Infusing the blades with futon chakra, Temari threw them at her opponent with deadly accuracy. Amoi quickly sheathed his katana and threw several of his own kunai, aiming to deflect Temari's, but the futon chakra coating the kunoichi's blade sliced through Amoi's kunai, forcing him to have to dodge out of the way to keep from getting impaled, giving Temari enough time to dive forward and grab her fan. The kunoichi unfurled her fan as she rolled to her feet and swung it at Amoi, sending another blast of wind at the Kumo shinobi that sent him flying back across the ground. "Raiten, Regeki," yelled Amoi as he jumped to his feet and made several hand seals. Amoi blasted a bolt of lightning from his hands that streaked toward Temari, forcing the kunoichi to dodge, allowing him to make several more hand seals, causing several spheres of electricity to appear around him. "Raiten, Raikyu," yelled Amoi, sending the spheres flying at the girl. Temari flipped out of the way but the spheres exploded when they hit the ground, sending the blonde kunoichi tumbling across the dirt as the shockwave hit her. As Temari tried to recover, Amoi took the initiative to dash into the trees at the edges of the stadium to get some time to plan. "Damn it," said Temari as she regained her bearings, "where is he now?" Just as she said that, several kunai coated in Raiten chakra flew from the trees and sliced through a lock of her hair as she leaned out of the way, before embedding themselves deep in the dirt. "Humph," smirked Temari, "thought the trees would give you protection? We'll see." Temari unfurled her fan to its maximum spread, revealing 3 purple circles emblazoned on it, before swinging the weapon, sending a massive blast of wind containing several dozen vacuum blades at the trees where the enemy shinobi was hiding. Daikamaitachi no Jutsu. The attack sliced through the trees, leaving gashes in the wood, before slamming into Amoi, sending the Kumo shinobi flying back with several slices across his body, eventually slamming against the stone wall of the arena with enough force to knock him out. Once the gale force winds died down, Amoi fell to the ground in a slump. Hayate jumped down and, Upon seeing that the Kumo shinobi was out cold with a possible concussion, raised his hand to call the match. "Winner, Temari," yelled the Tokubutsu Jonin before coughing slightly. Medics came and carried off Amoi while Temari smirked and headed off the field with her head held high in victory. Scene XX. As the arena was cleared, several of the people in the audience were discussing the match. "Gotta admit," said Asuma as he lit a cigarette, "that girl has a gift for futon techniques." "Well," said Kakashi, "Kaze no Kuni is known for its futon users. I'm more surprised that the Kaze Kage's son uses sand techniques instead." "The Rikage's shinobi was quite skilled as well," said Guy. "It's a shame that he seemed to specialize more in close combat, while his opponent excelled in ranged attacks. It just means he'll have to work so he's not overly specialized," said Asuma with a smirk. "I'm sure you of all people understand that, Guy." "Of course," said Guy, "I wouldn't be able to match my eternal rival if I only focused on taijutsu, eh Kakashi?" "Did you say something, Guy?" asked Kakashi. "Damn your hip attitude," grumbled Guy. "Quiet," said Guranai, "they're about to announce the next combatants." As the randomizer stopped on its selection, the Konoha shinobi wondered what kind of match they would see now. After all, it wasn't often that two of the great Dujutsu went head-to-head. Sasuke Uchiha vs Hinata Hyuga. The audience watched with anticipation as the combatants entered the arena, and bets rapidly changed hands as the shinobi placed their wagers on which of the two would end up on top. "The first match of the Chunin exam semifinals," said Hayate, "Hyuga Hinata vs Uchiha Sasuke, begin." Sasuke and Hinata quickly activated their Dujutsu and jumped apart from each other, weaving several hand seals. "Kaden, Gokaku no Jutsu," yelled Sasuke as he shot out a blast of fire from his mouth, but his opponent and teammate was more than ready. "Suten, Suita no Jutsu," yelled Hinata as she spat out a torrent of water that kicked up a large steam cloud as it impacted Sasuke's fire. The Hyuga heiress took full advantage of the cloud and rushed forward as it enveloped the both of them, relying on her Byakugan to make her way through the cloud as she struck with several Juken blows. Hinata landed several solid blows, but suddenly, she noticed a surge of chakra from within Sasuke's body and she jumped back just in time to avoid getting caught in an explosion as Sasuke detonated, the force from the blast clearing the steam cloud. "Bunshine Daibakuo?" said Hinata in surprise before rolling to the side to avoid a slash from Sasuke as he jumped at her. Making several hand seals, Sasuke generated lightning from his hands and launched it at his Hyuga teammate, engulfing her body, which transformed into a log with a poof of smoke. His reflexes then screamed at him and he rolled to the side to avoid a blast of air from one of Hinata's Juken techniques, before turning to face her, his Sharingan blazing in his eyes. Drawing his sword, Sasuke quickly parried several kunai that Hinata had thrown at him with pinpoint accuracy before creating two Cage Bunshine and having them attack from the left and right while he attacked from above. The three of them prepared to deal powerful sword strikes to Hinata, which would likely decide the match. "Mikazuki no Mai," yelled Sasuke as he leapt at Hinata with his sword at the ready. Hinata thought quickly as she saw the Uchiha close in and recalled the technique she had been developing through training with her father. Quickly channeling futon chakra from her palms to create thin blades of chakra from the palms of her hands, before using her flexibility to swing her arms around and create a dome of cutting blades around her, Shugo Haki Rakujuion Sho. Sasuke and his Cage Bunshine slammed into the wall of blades, the original being sent flying back while his Cage Bunshine were quickly dispelled, leaving the crowd stammering in shock about what they saw. Scene XX. "The technique," said Guy as he turned to a member of the audience behind him, "It's yours, right Tozuki-san?" "I may have taught him a few things," said the off-duty Anbu, "it was a request from a friend. Though what surprised me was the Hyuga's technique. That didn't look like any Juken technique I've seen." "That's because it's not," said a voice, causing the gathered Jonin to turn and see Hyuga Hiyashi taking a seat near them. "Forgive me, but dealing with the Elder's banner can get tiresome and I wanted to enjoy this match." "Not a problem at all, Hyuga-sama," said Kakashi respectfully, "but what did you mean when you said that that technique was not a Juken technique?" "Well," said Hiyashi, "in some regards, you could say it isn't, for it was created by Hinata herself as an answer to her difficulty using the Kaiden. By taking advantage of her natural flexibility and futon chakra, she surrounds herself with a wall of blades that can block most attacks, and due to her Byakugan, there is no opening in the wall for her enemies to exploit." "So, she created it herself?" asked Asuma with an impressed tone. "Indeed," said the Hyuga clan head, "the traditional Juken techniques have proven to be too rigid for her to properly master, so she developed her own style. I see great potential in her." Scene XX Sasuke pulled himself to his feet with a groan and wondered how he'd get past Hinata's new perfect defense technique. Deciding to test it out, Sasuke made several hand seals and spat fireballs at the Hyuga girl, watching as they were snuffed out by the dome of blades. Nodding to himself, Sasuke made several more hand seals and slammed his hand into the ground. Doten, Tsuchinami no Jutsu, said Sasuke, causing the ground to shift and undulate like waves on the coast, knocking Hinata off her feet. Sasuke took quick advantage of this and shot forward with his sword in his hand, aiming to get several good strikes in while Hinata was off balance, but the Hyuga girl quickly regained herself and used her flowing variant of the Jukin to dodge around the sword slashes and thrust her palm out, sending a vacuum shell into Sasuke's chest that blasted him backwards. Haki Kusho, said Hinata as her attack sent Sasuke flying back. Quickly making several more hand seals, Hinata took a deep breath and breathed out a thick mist that obscured the battlefield. Kirigakure no Jutsu. Scene XX Well, that's quite ingenious, murmured Hiruzen as he watched the fight. Correct me if I'm wrong, said A, but that's a jutsu from Kiri, right? Indeed, said the Kazekage from his seat, that's their trademark. How is it one of your Jonin managed to acquire it, Sarutobi? Her team had the misfortune of encountering Zabuzamomochi on a mission gone wrong, said Hiruzen. She likely picked up on the technique in the fight and refined it later on before the tournament. Well, said A, it's quite the answer to the boy's Sharingan. As you said, quite ingenious. Scene XX Sasuke cursed to himself as the thick mist obscured his vision. He knew that he was at a severe disadvantage due to the lack of visibility only affecting him due to Hinata's Byakugan being able to pierce the mist she created with her chakra, and thus pushed his other senses to their limits. It was because of this that he was able to pick up the sound of clothes rustling and the whoosh of metal streaking through the air, causing him to react on instinct and duck down, dodging a shuriken that would have hit him in the back of the head. Unfortunately, his hairdo wasn't so lucky and several locks fell to the ground. Shit, said Sasuke as he raised a hand to his hair and sighed, but he didn't have much time to bemoan that as Hinata was making her next move. Suten, Suiden no Jutsu, shouted Hinata's voice, knocking the Uchiha back as he was hit with a torrent of water that had been blasted from the Hyuga's mouth. That's it, growled Sasuke as he made several hand seals, Raiten, Jaibashi. Slamming his hands into the watery ground, Sasuke released a surge of electricity that traveled through the water that was permeating the ground, shocking both him and Hinata off their feet, causing the mist to dissipate as its creator lost focus on maintaining it. Having prepared himself for the blast, Sasuke was the first to pull himself to his feet and he drew several shuriken that he threw through the air at Hinata. As she composed herself from being mildly electrocuted, Hinata was forced to call upon all of her flexibility and reflexes to twist and dodge out of the way of the incoming weapons before she was able to put up her perfect defense technique and cut through the shuriken with her chakra blades. Seeing this happen, Sasuke knew he had to end the match before it was turned into a battle of attrition, and since he had already expended a good amount of chakra here, that was something he had to avoid. Making several hand seals, Sasuke leapt free of the water and gripped his right forearm as his right hand was pointed below him in an open claw. Focusing his chakra, Sasuke channeled his Raiten affinity and focused the energy outwards from his palm, causing lightning to visibly arc around his open hand as a sound akin to the chirping of 1,000 birds could be heard. Scene XX Kakashi, said Guy in shock, you didn't. I don't think you're in much of a position to judge Guy, said Kakashi casually, you taught your student to use the 8 gates, a technique that can prove as lethal as it is powerful, so why gotta teach my own student a technique of my own? I don't understand, said Sakura from where she sat next to Kurenai and the other Konoha shinobi, what kid of technique is that? It's an rank jutsu of Kakashi's own design, said Guy, a technique so powerful that he was able to use it to split a bolt of lightning, earning it the name Reikiri, but its original name comes from the sound of birds that the lightning emits. Scene XX Sasuke shot at Hinata at incredible speed, relying on his Sharingan to see properly, lightning trailing behind him from his attack tearing a trench in the battlefield as he ran. Seeing the destructive potential of the attack, Hinata quickly put up her defensive barrier technique to hopefully deflect the incoming blade of lightning. Chidori, yelled Sasuke as he slammed his lightning-covered hand into Hinata's wall of blades. The two techniques, one defensive, and the other purely offensive, battled for dominance as their users pushed harder and harder to gain the upper hand. Eventually the collision of the two attacks exploded violently, sending Sasuke tumbling across the ground while Hinata slammed into the arena wall and fell to the ground unconscious. Seeing that Sasuke was pulling himself to his feet, Hayate leapt down and raised his hand, the winner of the match and moving to the finals, Sasuke Uchiha. As Hinata was carried off to be treated, Sasuke left the field, allowing Hayate to call the next two combatants. "The semi-final's second match," said Hayate, "will Temari and Naruto enter the field?" "I forfeit," called out Temari. She knew she had no chance against Naruto's Rinnegan or against the various ninjutsu he displayed in his previous matches. Besides, the invasion was still ahead and she needed to conserve her strength. "Very well," said Hayate, "then we shall proceed with the final match of the Chunin exams. Will Naruto and Sasuke Uchiha enter the arena?" The two brothers jumped down into the battlefield and faced each other with determined expressions. Both knew the other wanted them to not hold anything back. It was time to see who was stronger between them. "This will be your last chance to show everyone here what you two have to offer as shinobi," said Hayate as he reached into a pocket and pulled out 2 pills, "and therefore, you both will be given soldier pills to replenish your stamina and chakra, so you can fight at your best." Taking the pills with a nod, the two brothers swallowed them and felt their strength and chakra return to them. Taking their positions in the arena, the two shinobi of Konoha waited for the match to begin. "The final match of the Chunin exams," called out Hayate, "begins now." "Naruto," said Sasuke before the former could attack, "how's about we really show them our skills?" "What did you have in mind, Niizen?" asked Naruto with a grin. Sasuke smirked before raising his voice and addressing the crowd, "Many of you have seen him as a demon or a monster, but Naruto is my brother in all but blood. If you think he's a monster, then I am one too, and today we'll show you what happens when two monsters clash." Sasuke closed his eyes and black designs spread across his skin from the curse seal on his neck, causing his body to undergo a transformation. The teen's hair grew longer and wilder as his skin turned gray and his sclera became black and a black mark resembling a cross appeared on his forehead. Finally, 2 wings sprouted from his back that resembled large, gray, webbed hands. Naruto smirked as the audience erupted with murmured conversation about their precious Uchiha becoming some sort of demon and closed his eyes. "I get the message, Niizen," said Naruto. "Oi Kyuubi. I guess I can get behind this plan," said the Kyuubi. "Kick his ass." Naruto focused and felt the fox's chakra flood through him, forming an aura around his body that resembled a humanoid fox with a single tail, while his physical features became more savage and animalistic. "You ready?" asked Naruto. "Been ready for years," said Sasuke before making several hand seals. "Kaden, Gokaku no Jutsu. Suten, Mizurappa," yelled Naruto upon going through hand seals of his own. Sasuke breathed out a stream of flames while Naruto spat out a stream of water that countered the fire jutsu. Naruto then made a cross hand seal that caused Sasuke's eyes to widen. "Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu," yelled Naruto, creating 3 dozen Kage Bunshin that proceeded to attack Sasuke. Sasuke quickly drew his sword and began to slice through the clones, carving through them with quick ease thanks to his Sharingan and the training he received from Kakashi and Yugao. Once the clones were dispatched, Sasuke looked around for the original, but didn't see him anywhere. Suddenly, 2 hands emerged from the ground and grabbed his ankles before pulling the Uchiha down into the ground until only his head remained above ground. "Doten, Shinjuzanshu no Jutsu," yelled Naruto as he emerged from the dirt. "What now Niizen?" Sasuke struggled for a but before Ha's body vanished in a poof of smoke, before Naruto was knocked into the air as Sasuke appeared from the ground as well with a rising kick. The elder brother then leapt after Naruto, using the wings on his back to fly after the blonde, before kicking him in quick succession, sending the teen slamming into the ground as Sasuke slammed his elbow into the blonde's midsection. Luckily, the chakra cloak surrounding the Jinchuriki allowed for some protection and kept the match from ending right there, and the next thing Sasuke knew was that he had been thrown away from his opponent by an arm made of chakra that had extended from the cloak. "You'll have to do better than that," said Naruto with a smirk as he spat out some blood as his Jinchuriki status began to heal him. "I intend to," said Sasuke as he made several hand seals. Naruto smiled fairly and made hand seals of his own, and together, the 2 brothers shouted out their jutsu. "Kaden, Goryuken no Jutsu. Doten, Doryuki." A dragon head made of flames collided with a large wall of stone that rose up out of the ground, emblazoned with the Uchiha crest with a spiral centered on it. "XC I was unaware that Konoha had 2 Jinchuriki," said A as he watched the fight. "We don't," said Hiruzen. "There was an incident with a despicable Nukenin during the second exam. The result of the incident left Sasuke with a peculiar affliction, but once properly treated, it has proven to be quite the benefit." "I can see that," said A. "The boy can match skills with a Jinchuriki that seems to have some level of control over his Bijou. Someone with that level of latent power hasn't been seen by Kumo since Kisame Hoshigaki. Perhaps that Nukenin did something right?" "Perhaps," said Hiruzen, "but it obviously was unintentional. He has always been known to disregard the consequences of his actions." The Kazekage listened to this conversation and he couldn't quite suppress a twitch that developed in his eye as he listened to the other two Kage speak of this Nukenin in the match. The Hokage noticed the Kazekage's interest in their discussion and turned to address him. "Is there something wrong, Kazekagedono?" asked Hiruzen politely with a smile on his face. "No," said the Kazekage, "I was just interested in your opinion of the two Jonin's abilities. They seem rather advanced for shinobi their age. While it is uncommon for shinobi to gain such skill at their age, it is certainly not unheard of," said Hiruzen. "Sharingan no Kakashi and Itachi Uchiha were both quite gifted in their youth, and I seem to recall several missions where certain rapping Jinchuriki from Kumo dealt with many opponents while still being rather young." "Indeed," said A, as the Jinchuriki being referred to as his brother, "youth doesn't necessarily determine skill in our world. Your own son was one of the combatants in this tournament and he had already made a name for himself while being not much older than the boys fighting now." "True," admitted the Kazekage. "Perhaps then we should pay closer attention to the match? These two are likely to surprise us even further." Scene XX Raiten, Jaibashi, yelled Sasuke as he released a stream of lightning that tore through the rock wall before biting his finger to draw blood and spreading it over the flat of his sword, causing the blade to be covered in lightning. Spreading his wings, Sasuke flew at Naruto, aiming to slice through him with the sword in his hand. Naruto didn't let him. Quickly breathing out Futon Chakra onto a kunai, Naruto created a scimitar-like weapon that he used to block his brother's strike. Again and again the two brothers clashed blades, but it was obvious that Sasuke had the better training and said shinobi broke their stalemate when he delivered a kick that sent Naruto tumbling back. Stabbing his sword into the ground, Sasuke made a hand seal and took a deep breath and breathed out a torrent of fire. Kaden, Karyudan. Rolling to his feet, Naruto quickly made several hand seals and spat out a mass amount of water that formed into a dragon that shot forward and swallowed the flames, causing the water to explode into steam and mist. Naruto then made several hand seals and blew out several blasts of Futon Chakra that dispelled the steam and mist and streaked toward the air in Sasuke's direction. "Futon, Shinkagyoku," yelled Naruto. The blasts of air forced Sasuke to dodge, but he was unable to avoid them all and the Futon Chakra left several cuts on his body. Spreading his wings, Sasuke rose into the air and hovered as drew several shuriken before letting them fly at Naruto with great accuracy. Naruto created his vacuum blade again and quickly cut through the spinning blades thanks to the sharp edge of his Futon Chakra blade. "Kaden," said Sasuke as he made several hand seals in mid-air, "Hosenka no Jutsu." Naruto's eyes widened and he was forced to dodge and roll out of the way as Sasuke sent dozens of small fireballs flying at the blonde Jinchuriki, but several of the erratically flying flames struck his chakra cloak and exploded against it, sending the Jinchuriki tumbling across the dirt. "Damn it," said Naruto as he pulled himself to his feet, "try this on for size, Raiten, Shichishibari." 4 pillars of stone rose up around the edges of the arena and generated a field of lightning within their enclosed space, the largeness of the area leaving Sasuke no space to run. The Uchiha cried out in pain and was held off the ground by the energy for a moment before falling to the ground as the pillars retracted. "Ready to give up?" asked Naruto. "Hardly," said Sasuke as he got to his feet. "How about we finish this? Your best against my best? Sounds like you're ready to lose," said Naruto. "Hardly," said Sasuke, "I'm going to demolish you. Right here. Right now." Sasuke spread his wings and flew backwards to the opposite end of the stadium and held his hand below him in a familiar stance. Seeing this, Naruto smirked and jumped back, landing at the end opposite from Sasuke while holding his hand to his side with his palm facing up. The crowd watched as Sasuke gathered chakra in his hand in the form of black lightning that resembled a dark Chidori, yet instead of chirping, the sound of 1,000 flapping wings could be heard. Turning to Naruto, they would see blue chakra, tinted purple by the crimson chakra cloak that shrouded his form, forming a spherical shape in his hand. The two Jonin then rushed at each other at blinding speeds, closing the distance between the two of them in seconds before slamming the jutsu in their hands together with violent results. Chidori. Rasengan. At the moment of impact, a shockwave of chakra was released, causing a crater to form under the epicenter of the clash. The shockwave shook the stadium and kicked up a powerful blast of wind as the chakra released by the two battling shinobi tore gashes in the battlefield as their highly destructive jutsu battled for dominance. Curse Mark and Bija chakra fought violently, sending out waves of chaotic destructive energy that exploded across the ground and caused those sitting in the front row to shield themselves to avoid injury from flying rubble. Eventually, The two clashing jutsu exploded in a violent manner that kicked up a cloud of dust and released a shockwave that knocked everyone, even the assembled cage, out of their seats due to the force behind it. When the dust cleared, everyone looked intently to the arena, eager to see what the result of such a titanic clash of power was, and they were not disappointed. The entire battlefield had been reduced to a large crater with the bodies of the two brothers lying on the ground in the center, the two of them back in their normal forms. The damage to the battlefield was so intense that there were even cracks on the base of the arena walls near to the ground from the power of the shockwave. Hinata quickly jumped down and checked on the two Genin, seeing that they both were conscious, but too exhausted to continue fighting. Since both combatants are unable to continue, I declare the final match of the Chunin exams to be a draw. Called out Hinata. The crowd began to cheer as the excitement of the intense battle kicked in, but just as the applause grew to a roar, several white feathers appeared in the air, causing all those untrained with genjutsu to fall unconscious. It was at that time, the Ado and Suna shinobi leapt to their feet and attacked the people around them, only to be countered by several dozen Anbu and Jonin-level shinobi that were strategically placed among the crowd. The invasion of Konoha had begun.
That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.